I'm a 28-year-old man from a family with a long and tangled history of favoritism. My younger sister, Amy, 25, has always been my parents' favorite, particularly my dad's. From our earliest years, this favoritism has been glaring and only intensified as we grew up. Amy was always the golden child. One of my earliest memories is from when I was 5, and she was 2. My parents threw her an extravagant birthday party with professional face painters, a bouncy castle, and even a petting zoo. For my birthday that same year, I got a store-bought cake and a quiet family dinner. That set the tone for the years ahead. As we grew older, the disparities became even more obvious. Amy always had the newest toys, the best clothes, and all of my parents' attention. I remember saving up for months to buy a new bike when I was 10. When Amy saw it, she threw a tantrum. Instead of teaching her patience, my parents immediately bought her a better bike. At school, my parents attended every single one of Amy's events, but they rarely came to mine. I starred in a school play in 4th grade after weeks of practice. They arrived an hour late, missing my big scene entirely because Amy had complained of a stomachache. She was fine later, but they lost track of time playing with her. Academically, nothing I did ever seemed good enough. I got straight A's in middle school, joined the math club, and even won first place in a regional science fair. My parents barely acknowledged it. Meanwhile, Amy got a celebratory dinner and a brand new phone just for earning a B+ on a test in her weakest subject. High school was even harder. I maintained a 4.0 GPA, led the debate team, and was editor of the school newspaper. Yet, my accomplishments went unnoticed. Amy coasted with a C average, spending most of her time with friends. When I was selected for a prestigious summer program at Harvard, my dad brushed it off at dinner, changing the subject to Amy's upcoming dance recital. They didn't even take me to the airport because her recital was on the same day. A friend's parents had to drive me. When it came to college applications, I worked tirelessly on essays, SAT prep, and extracurriculars. I got into several elite universities and earned a large scholarship to my dream school. My parents' reaction? Barely lukewarm. That's good, but don't let it go to your head, my dad said. In contrast, when Amy barely graduated high school and decided not to go to college, my parents praised her for knowing herself and breaking societal norms. They even bought her a car as a graduation gift. The emotional toll of this favoritism was severe. By the time I reached my teens and early 20s, I was struggling with anxiety and depression. Therapy in college helped me realize my parents' actions weren't my fault. Over time, I worked hard to build self-esteem and find validation from within rather than seeking their approval. Despite everything, I've managed to build a good life for myself. I graduated college with honors, got a stable job in finance, and bought my own home by the age of 27. My parents still don't acknowledge my achievements, but I've learned to take pride in them regardless. Then came the turning point. My grandfather on my dad's side recently passed away. He was a successful businessman who had built a substantial estate from nothing. In his will, he divided his assets equally among his children and grandchildren, including me, Amy, and our cousins. My share amounted to about $500,000, a life-changing amount that I plan to use to pay off student loans, invest, and possibly start my own business. When the will was read, my parents' reactions were telling. They seemed agitated. Later, they pulled me aside, arguing that the inheritance was unfair. Amy, they said, needed the money more because she lived in their basement and worked part-time at a coffee shop. They insisted that I should do the right thing and give Amy my entire share. Stunned, I calmly explained that Grandpa had made his decision. It wasn't up to them. This didn't go over well. They began guilt-tripping me, calling me selfish and ungrateful. My dad even dredged up every instance he had helped me, conveniently ignoring that I had worked part-time to contribute financially and that they had bought Amy a car and still supported her fully at 25. The situation escalated rapidly. Acting as the executor of the will, my dad announced he would reinterpret Grandpa's intentions and give my entire inheritance to Amy. He argued that Grandpa would have wanted this if he had known our unique situation. I was devastated. Not only was this blatantly illegal, but it was yet another painful reminder of how little my parents thought of me. I tried reasoning with them, pointing out that Grandpa had treated all his grandchildren equally and was fully aware of our circumstances. But my mother accused me of disrespecting Grandpa's memory by suggesting he wouldn't have favored Amy. What happened next shocked me to my core. When I raised the issue with my parents, they dismissed my concerns entirely, insisting they were only looking out for Amy's future. They claimed Grandpa had privately voiced worries about Amy's well-being, which they used to justify their actions. When I pointed out that Grandpa had always supported my academic and career goals, they brushed it off as a misinterpretation. I asked why, if Grandpa truly wanted Amy to have my share, he hadn't written the will that way. They had no answer. Amy, caught in the middle, awkwardly shrugged and said, "Mom and Dad know best." She seemed uncomfortable but unwilling to challenge them. Hoping for clarity, I turned to Grandpa's widow, my grandmother, for guidance. When I explained what was happening, she was furious. She told me my parents had no authority to alter the will and that Grandpa's intentions had been clear. Grandma revealed that years earlier, my parents had tried to persuade Grandpa to leave everything to Amy. Grandpa had firmly refused, stating that all his grandchildren deserved equal treatment. To ensure this, he had included a clause in his will: anyone contesting the equal distribution would forfeit their share. Armed with this information, I confronted my parents again. Grandma's revelation rattled them, though they attempted to justify their actions as being for Amy's benefit. I could see the guilt on their faces, but they wouldn't back down. Grandma, however, didn't stop there. She reached out to the will's other executor, Grandpa's attorney, and my dad's siblings. Together, they intervened to stop my dad's scheme and ensure the will was executed as written. My parents were furious, accusing me of betraying the family by involving others. My mom cried, lamenting that I had torn the family apart. My dad threatened to disinherit me entirely if I accepted the inheritance, even declaring that I would no longer be welcome in their home. In a particularly cruel moment, my mom accused me of never truly loving them, saying I was only interested in profiting from Grandpa's death. The extended family was split. Some cousins supported me, understanding the years of favoritism I had endured. Others believed I should have relinquished the money for the sake of family harmony. My dad's siblings, who had always been fair, sided with me, but this strained their relationship with my parents. Amy, meanwhile, confided in me privately. She admitted she felt bad about the situation but wasn't ready to stand up to our parents. She had spent her whole life relying on their approval and wasn't prepared to challenge them. While I understood her position, part of me wished she would support me just once. This ordeal brought a flood of painful memories. I remembered every time my achievements had been ignored, every moment I had been overshadowed by Amy. The birthdays, the missed school events, the dismissive comments, they all resurfaced. This inheritance fight felt like the culmination of a lifetime of unfairness. Despite the fallout, I stood my ground. I refused to give up my inheritance and insisted that Grandpa's wishes be honored. My parents barely spoke to me, and family gatherings became unbearably tense. For the first time in my life, I skipped the monthly family dinner because I couldn't bear the cold shoulders and accusatory glances. Yet, amid the turmoil, I felt a small sense of empowerment. For the first time, I was standing up for myself and asserting my worth. It was both terrifying and liberating. Still, the stress was overwhelming. I started experiencing anxiety attacks again, a struggle I hadn't faced since college. I began considering returning to therapy to help navigate the emotional toll of the situation. I wondered if I had made the right choice. Should I have given in to maintain peace? Was it worth risking my family relationships over money? But I was tired of being the scapegoat. I wanted to break free from the cycle of neglect and favoritism. Update. 6 months later, much has changed. After consulting an attorney, I confirmed that my parents' actions were illegal and that I was fully entitled to my inheritance. My attorney helped document everything and prepare for legal action if necessary. Thankfully, it didn't come to that. With the support of Grandma, the other executor, and my dad's siblings, the will was carried out as Grandpa intended. My dad was removed as executor due to his attempt to manipulate the inheritance. The process was exhausting, involving tense meetings, heated arguments, and threats of litigation. But the law was clear, and my parents eventually had to back down. I received my full inheritance, which I've since used to pay off student loans and invest in my future. The family fallout, however, has been significant. My parents doubled down on their accusations, calling me selfish and neglectful of Amy. They attempted to rally other family members against me, but many saw through their behavior. While I've lost much of my relationship with my parents, I've gained clarity and a renewed sense of self-worth. For the first time, I'm no longer seeking their approval, I'm living for myself. When my parents escalated their accusations, claiming I had somehow manipulated Grandpa into leaving me the inheritance, their behavior alienated much of the family. Most relatives saw through their baseless claims. However, about a month after the will was finalized, there was an unpleasant incident at a family gathering. My aunt, who had organized the event, hadn't invited my parents, but they showed up unannounced. They caused a scene, yelling about how I had stolen from Amy and turned Grandma against them. My dad accused me of ruining cherished family memories, while my mom threw an old photo album at my feet, shouting about how I had betrayed them. It was an embarrassing and painful moment, with several relatives stepping in to calm things down and convince my parents to leave. Through it all, my grandmother proved to be my strongest ally. She shared stories of how proud Grandpa had been of my accomplishments and revealed that he had kept a scrapbook documenting my achievements, from newspaper clippings about academic awards to my college acceptance letters. Hearing this was both heartwarming and bittersweet. While it affirmed Grandpa's faith in me, it also underscored how little recognition I had received from my parents. Grandma decided to take matters into her own hands, organizing a family gathering that excluded my parents. At this meeting, she laid out the full history of my parents' favoritism, recounting incidents that even I had forgotten or never known about. Her acknowledgement of the unfairness I had endured for years was deeply validating, though it also reopened old wounds. Surprisingly, this intervention helped Amy find her voice. She came to me personally to apologize for not standing up for me earlier. After reflecting on our upbringing and having heartfelt conversations with Grandma, she admitted that our parents' favoritism had been wrong. Amy shared how, despite being the golden child, she had suffered in her own way. She revealed that their overprotectiveness had left her feeling incapable of standing on her own 2 feet and robbed her of the chance to grow through her mistakes. This marked a turning point in our relationship. We began repairing our sibling bond, meeting regularly to support each other through the family crisis. Inspired by my decision to stand up for myself, Amy decided to take control of her own life. She shocked everyone by declaring she would use her inheritance to pay for college. She enrolled in a community college with plans to transfer to a 4-year university. Our parents were visibly stunned. I think they realized their coddling hadn't truly helped Amy and that she was now charting her own path without their input. Their reactions, however, were mixed. At first, they lashed out, accusing Amy of betraying the family and claiming I had manipulated her. When their guilt trips failed, they switched tactics. After several discussions with Grandma and seeing Amy's determination, my mom began to acknowledge how damaging their favoritism had been. My mother even started therapy to address her issues and reached out to apologize. She admitted her mistakes and asked for a chance to make amends. While I remain cautiously optimistic, I've also set firm boundaries to protect myself. Unfortunately, my dad has been less willing to change. He remains resentful, insisting he is the true victim. He barely speaks to Amy or me and has tried to manipulate us by threatening to sell our childhood home if we don't come to our senses. It's painful to see him create such distance between himself and his children, but both Amy and I are standing firm. The dynamics within the extended family have shifted significantly. I've grown closer to my dad's siblings, who have been incredibly supportive. Hearing their experiences with my dad's difficult behavior has made me feel less alone. I've also developed deeper connections with cousins who stood by me during this ordeal. We've even started a monthly cousins' dinner to catch up without the older generation's drama hanging over us. On a personal level, I've been making thoughtful use of my inheritance. After paying off my student loans, I've experienced an incredible sense of financial freedom. With the help of a financial advisor, I've built a diversified investment portfolio and set aside funds to potentially start a business in the future. I'm exploring the idea of opening a community center focused on affordable mental health services and financial literacy programs. For now, though, the most meaningful use of the money has been funding therapy for myself and Amy. We're both working through the long-term effects of our parents' favoritism and learning to set healthy boundaries. It's a slow and challenging process, but I already feel stronger and more equipped to navigate life's difficulties. This journey has been painful, but it's also brought unexpected growth. I've learned the importance of standing up for myself, even in the face of immense pressure. While the road ahead isn't without challenges, I feel empowered by the steps I've taken to reclaim my life and my self-worth. the upheaval in my family has profoundly shaped my career aspirations and personal goals. Reflecting on the dysfunction I've navigated, coupled with the growth I've experienced through therapy, has inspired me to support others who have faced similar struggles. I'm now considering returning to school to specialize in working with adult children of emotionally immature parents and becoming a family therapist. In the meantime, I've started volunteering at a local youth center, helping teens from challenging family situations. Being able to provide the kind of support I wish I'd had as a child has been immensely fulfilling. I'm even considering using a portion of my inheritance to create a scholarship fund for kids from similar backgrounds. Amy and I have grown closer than ever. We now have a monthly siblings day, where we spend time together doing activities we enjoy. Last month, we went hiking and had a picnic, and it felt like the carefree connection we had as children, free from the influence of our parents. Rebuilding our bond has been one of the most rewarding aspects of this journey. My relationship with my parents remains strained but not entirely hopeless. My mother has been consistent with therapy and is beginning to recognize the harm caused by her favoritism. We've had a few honest, if difficult, one-on-one lunches to discuss our past and how we can move forward. While the progress isn't perfect, it's a start. My father, however, remains resistant to change. He continues to insist he's done nothing wrong and that Amy and I should be more grateful. He refuses to attend family gatherings if I'm present, which has led to him missing several events. While his rejection hurts, I'm learning to let go of the need to change his perspective or control his reactions. Grandma remains a steadfast source of support for both Amy and me. She frequently shares stories about Grandpa's pride in us and his belief in fairness. Her unwavering advocacy for justice and understanding has made her an invaluable mediator in family disputes. This entire experience has taught me profound lessons about the true meaning of family. I've realized that sometimes the family you build for yourself, through close friends and supportive extended relatives, can be more nurturing than the one you were born into. My bonds with my aunts, uncles, and cousins have deepened, and I've cultivated a close-knit circle of friends who have been my anchors through this turbulent time. Setting boundaries and prioritizing self-care have become essential for me. I've learned to say no to situations that compromise my mental health and no longer feel guilty about putting my well-being first. For years, I was so focused on seeking my parents' approval that I neglected to explore new interests and hobbies. Now, I'm rediscovering what truly makes me happy. To those navigating similar challenges, my advice is simple but powerful: don't let anyone make you feel guilty for claiming what is rightfully yours, even if it causes conflict. Standing up for yourself is worth it, no matter how complex family dynamics may be. You deserve fairness and respect. Remember, it's never too late to build the life you deserve. Seek therapy if needed, surround yourself with supportive people, and establish firm boundaries. Your worth is defined by who you are, not by how others treat you. Thank you to everyone who offered support and encouragement during this difficult time. Your words meant more to me than you'll ever know. While the road has been far from easy, I'm genuinely excited for the future. I feel more confident and self-assured than I have in years and am eager to see where this next chapter of my life will lead. My commitment to breaking the cycle of favoritism and building healthier relationships in my future family gives me hope and purpose.